It's 6:30 p.m. and time to know all that happened in South India today with me, T.S. Sudhir, on Up South. Our top story in Up South remains the D.K. Ravi case. The last 1 week saw protests in Bengaluru, Kolar and Tumkuru and an aggressive opposition demanding a CBI probe into this controversial case and a divide even within the Congress ranks. And finally, Karnataka Chief Minister Siddaramaiah announced on the floor of the Karnataka Assembly that he will order a CBI probe into the case. Meanwhile, the Karnataka High Court ordered the state government not to reveal the contents of the CID preliminary report on the floor of the Assembly or be made public. My colleagues Rohini Swamy and Pratibha Raman bring us all that happened in Bengaluru today.
For 7 days, Siddaramaiah resisted all pressure, vehemently denying a CBI probe into IAS officer D.K. Ravi's mysterious death. But finally, the Karnataka Chief Minister forced to relent, announcing a CBI probe into the death. But the opposition not letting up the pressure, blaming the Congress government for mishandling the case.
He charged against the opposition. We misused this death to our political gain. That shows his mean mentality, this Chief Minister's mean mentality. When inevitably he has handed over the case to the CBI. Inevitable because of opposition pressure and fight, because of public opinion in the entire nation and Karnataka.
Karnataka government cornered, opposition baying for Home Minister K.J. George's resignation, the man accused of prejudging the case by calling it a suicide. K.J. George's alleged links with a real estate firm, some of them being investigated by D.K. Ravi himself, adding fuel to fire. Ravi's family meanwhile welcomed the CBI probe.
ಸತ್ಯವನ್ನ ಈ ರಾಜ್ಯದ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರದ ಜನತೆಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಬೇಕು ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ನಮ್ಮ ಬೇಡಿಕೆಗೆ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಮನ್ನಿಸಿ ಸಿಬಿಐ ತನಿಖೆಗೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಹಕರಿಸಿದ ತಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಈ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರದ ರಾಜ್ಯದ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸಾರ್ವಜನಿಕರಿಗೂ ಸಂಘ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಗಳಿಗೂ ರಾಜಕೀಯ ಪಕ್ಷಗಳಿಗೂ ನನ್ನ ಅನಂತ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ನಾವು ಋಣಿಯಾಗಿರ್ತೇವೆ.
The last 1 week exposing the chinks in the Congress armor, the party finding itself divided into pro and anti-Siddaramaiah camps, and what's worse, seen as an adamant government that does not have its ear to the ground to sense the public mood.
The last 1 week has exposed the chinks in the Congress government. The party has been divided into pro and anti-Siddaramaiah camps. But what is worse, it is being seen as an adamant government that does not have its ear to the ground to sense public outrage. With Pratibha Raman, Rohini Swamy in Bangalore for Headlines Today.
Joining me now for a 360-degree perspective on what happened in Bengaluru today and what it means for the politics in Karnataka is Abid Rasool Khan, Congress spokesperson, joining me from Hyderabad. Also Mr. Suresh Kumar, senior BJP leader, former law minister from Karnataka. He joins me from Bengaluru. Also my colleague Pratibha Raman will be joining me from outside the Karnataka High Court. Mr. Abid Rasool Khan, to you first, from last Monday to this Monday, we have seen a lot happening in the political theatre in Karnataka. Do you admit on behalf of your Congress government that the Siddaramaiah government did not really handle this crisis well?
The government in Karnataka has taken a lot of time to understand the feelings of the people, and because of which I feel that there is a lot of mistrust and a lot of questions being raised. But the CBI probe now is on, and the government has consented for it. I feel that the truth will come out, and once the truth will come out, our government and the stand of the Chief Minister will stand vindicated.
Right. I'm glad, Mr. Abid Rasool Khan, you are being very candid, but do you think that the Chief Minister should have ordered the CBI probe much before, because the man on the street feels that this issue has not really been handled very competently?
Yes, I agree that there was a strong feeling from the people for a CBI probe, and any government, popular government, has to honor the feelings of the people. When they want a CBI probe, we should have ordered for it. But I appreciate the efforts, and I appreciate the initiative of Srimati Sonia Gandhi ji, our President, to speak to the aggrieved family and then advise the government, and also the government also now understanding the requirements and ordering a probe is welcome, and I think the truth will come out, and we will be able to satisfy the feeling of the people that we are working for the truth and the fair play in this particular issue.
Right. Mr. Suresh Kumar, the Congress assessment there that the delay in ordering the CBI probe was unwarranted and avoidable. Do you think, as a long-time Karnataka politics watcher, that the knives will be out for Siddaramaiah pretty soon.
No, in Congress party, it is understandable. So Congress High Command never allows any chief minister to become strong. And it is since many decades. But I think Siddaramaiah should not have allowed things to reach this situation. He should have on his own taken a decision. He should have taken the cabinet into confidence and made this statement earlier.
Right. Joining me now is Pratibha Raman, who joins me from outside the Karnataka High Court, which saw a lot of action inside the court, with the government making a forceful plea that the CID preliminary report should be allowed to be tabled, to be presented inside the Karnataka Assembly. In fact, that matter has been posted for tomorrow, 2:30 p.m. Pratibha, now what is likely to be the government's line tomorrow when it is again coming up for court, when it comes up in court?
Well, the first thing that Justice Abdul Nazir observed is that no such case has happened, so there is absolutely no precedence to such a case, and that he would really need time, considering that the case has now been handed over to the CBI. What relevance does it have to fight this in this particular case? And in fact, joining me now is the government, is the advocate for the government. Sir, don't you think that you're fighting for a lost cause, considering the case has already been handed over to the CBI?
You know, this case before the court has got nothing to do with the investigating agency. It is about whether the status in respect of the investigation carried out initially by the police, thereafter by the CID, which was to be tabled before the House by the Honorable Chief Minister today, and which was not done by virtue of an interim order granted by the High Court in this writ petition which was heard today, whether that is justified or not. And whether it is, if it is justified, whether it is justified in a petition of this nature, which according to the government is a set-up petition. It is a petition which is lacking bona fides. So in this context, we placed before the court, because of this one-sided attack that is going on against the government, especially by the media and by the opposition, there is always two sides, isn't it? So we had to present our side, which is why the government said that they will table this status of the investigation before the Assembly, which was prevented by virtue of this interim order. So we placed the entire investigation material before the court and requested the court to go through this material and come to its own conclusion on whether we are now entitled to tell the House and tell the people that this is what it is all about and not what the media is trying to make it out to be. Now in that context, the learned judge went through the entire material and expressed, he was there in court, and it expressed that the action of the government is bona fide and it has acted in a bona fide manner rather, and that we have been fair to the court and we have been fair throughout in the handling of this case, which is exactly what we wanted.
At the same time, today, Justice Abdul Nazir also really felt that considering that the investigation is not thoroughly complete, and in case people turn out to be innocent, then it would result in a defamation case, and that is exactly what is to be avoided, and that has been the sentiment of the public as well. Sudhir.
Right. Also joining us now is former IG Intelligence Karnataka Police, Mr. Gopal Hosur. Mr. Hosur, the fact that the Chief Minister insisted that he would place the preliminary report of the CID in the Assembly is quite unprecedented. That's what most legal experts also say. That's something which even the judge said today in the Karnataka High Court. Do you get the feeling that Chief Minister Siddaramaiah was not advised properly?
I would not say that he was not advised properly, because probably looking at the pressure that was on him and on his party, he wanted to make a statement about the report of the CID. Probably he wanted to clarify things, but I am sure he would have consulted legal experts on this. But meanwhile, the petitioner, the husband of a lady IAS officer, approached the High Court and got an interim stay. Probably that dissuaded him from making the statement.
Right. Mr. Hosur, a former Chief Minister who is now the leader of the opposition, Jagdish Shettar, wondered today if the CID had not destroyed all evidence. Now, wouldn't you as a police officer think that that's quite a pathetic thing to say, because it immediately tars almost every policeman in Karnataka, saying that they are dishonest, who cannot be trusted to do an honest job with this investigation?
Karnataka police have time and again proved to be very competent investigating officers. They have done very many important sensitive investigations, and they have stood the scrutiny of the judiciary. Making a statement that the CID is likely to destroy the evidence is a little far-fetched because there are various layers of investigation and scrutiny. Such destruction is generally not possible, in my opinion and in my experience.
Right. Mr. Suresh Kumar, you have always been very critical of the CBI, calling it the Congress Bureau of Investigation. Now, what makes you think so sure that the CBI has changed its spots?
I think CBI 1.5 years, 2 years back is not the CBI today. It is no more the pigeon in the cage, as was once famously named. So definitely, thanks to the Supreme Court's monitoring, thanks to the Supreme Court's consistent monitoring, CBI today is a refurbished organization, and we want CBI, an institution which is independent, which will be more professional, and which can instill confidence in the people of India.
Right, Mr. Gopal Osur, my last question to you, a very brief answer from you. The IAS lobby has also been pushing for a CBI probe. Does it also not indicate some kind of a loss of confidence in the IPS and the police machinery in Karnataka? And does that hurt you?
Actually, the IAS making a demand for CBI inquiry, CBI investigation, probably is in keeping in tune with what is the public perception in Karnataka. It would not be right to say that this hurts the Karnataka police. Karnataka police have always been competent, but because of it, the political overtones this case has received, the IAS lobby perhaps thought that CBI would be a neutral agency to investigate this case.
Right. Right. Mr. Gopal Osur, thanks a lot for joining us. Also, thanks to Mr. Suresh Kumar, Abid Rasul Khan and Pratibha Raman for joining us on this story from Bengaluru and Hyderabad. Now, Siddaramaiah had its reasons why he's changed his mind and decided to order a CBI probe. One, of course, was the call from Sonia Gandhi, the caste factor, public perception, divide within the Congress ranks, and, of course, an aggressive opposition. But after making that forceful speech in the State Assembly, he decided to keep mum, as my colleague Rohini Swami found out.
So what he's been saying is that you did not bother about the protest, but because Sonia Gandhi told you, that's why you had to hand it over to the CBI. So one statement at least, what do you think now? Do you think a fair probe will be conducted? Will justice finally be given? Did you say that you will spare? You will not spare anybody?
No comment. No comment.
Rohini Swami is live with us from Bengaluru. Rohini, Siddaramaiah deciding to be on silent mode, but this is no longer just a crime story. It is an intensely political story, especially with the Janata Dal Secular making it a Vokkaliga versus the Congress battle. And obviously the Vokkaligas within the Congress in Karnataka and as well as the Congress High Command obviously rattled and does not want to take on the dominant and financially very, very powerful community.
Having its political ramifications, and the community got rattled, and also especially because the Vokkaliga community is one of the largest community in Karnataka and also a big voter base for, and the fact that the Congress is a single party in Karnataka rattled especially the high echelons of the party. And very clearly the Vokkaliga leaders also went up to Sonia Gandhi and said that at this point of time they do feel that a CBI probe was needed, and that is why that was communicated to Siddaramaiah. Also, the JDS took it up in the forefront. They decided that because they're also representative of the community, they upped their ante, they went on protest, they even announced that they're going to hold padayatras from the grave of DK Ravi all the way to Bangalore. So it became almost as if it became JDS versus Siddaramaiah, and that is when it rattled the entire system, the Congress party. And finally he decided after consulting with his Council of Ministers that enough is enough. If they need to keep their chair, if they need to keep their party in government in Karnataka, they will have to go with the voice of the people. They will have to go to the voices, especially of the pressure that is also being put on the High Command. They have to fall, and they have to fall in line and go and give it to the CBI.
Absolutely. In fact, there is a spring in the opposition step in Karnataka. Rohini Swami, thanks a lot for joining us there live from Bengaluru. That's it then on Up South this Monday evening. News and updates will continue on Headlines Today.